I don't claim to ever own my grandmother, but as a family, we can take solace and remembrance from just the incredible woman she was, and 90 years of life with her. And you know I tell you a very surreal part now. Your viewers might find it hard to believe, but when I was holding the rucksack with my grandmother, and when I used to give my grandmother a hug, that feeling, that love, I actually felt that on her last journey. And it actually felt like I was hugging my grandmother physically, even though physically she was not there. It was her remains, and it was just a.
Hi. YouTube have two ways to push your channel. With that said, I'm asking you two quick favors. If you like what I'm doing and want to support my growth, please give me a thumbs up so that YouTube could send my videos out to like-minded viewers just like you. 2. I've noticed that 70% of you who have revisited this channel have not yet subscribed. Please hit that subscribe button. That way my channel will grow. And my promise to you is to give you more content with substance just like these. Do we have a deal? Thank you.
Satwan, how you doing?
Yeah, doing very good. Thank you, bro.
Welcome to my place aboard. The last time we spoke, we talked about cancer.
Yeah.
And the race that we done in Warsaw, where you and your uncle raced for cancer, so race for life, right?
That's correct.
And now we are in a face-to-face interview, and we're going to speak about racing and how racing help you and your mental health. And also we had a little bit of chat about care and the impact care can have on individuals. To my audience, welcome to the Ivy Cancer Podcast, where we discuss cancer, health, lifestyle, and healing. And tonight it is no different. Now, many of you probably watched the video a few months ago, probably about a month or two ago, where we interviewed Sat. We spoke about the race that he done, and very humble gentleman, I must say, and genuine person. Welcome again.
Thank you very much.
Next month, we basically approaching November, because I think tomorrow or Thursday should be the last of October.
Yeah, Thursday's the 31st.
Right. So we will be going into November, and the UK celebrates men's mental health. What are your thoughts about men's mental health? Do you think that we struggle as well?
Well, first of all, to your audience, thank you for having me on your YouTube channel again. I'm very honoured and privileged. After many failed attempts, we eventually got to see each other face to face. So I'm really pleased that you welcome me on the channel into your home. Very humbled, very gratitude as well. And I just really wanted to discuss, mental health as well, because there's a big change in attitudes, I would say, over the past couple of years, maybe decade, where it's become less taboo,
right,
for men to talk about their mental health. I'm talking, from my grandparents' age, my grandfather, down to my father, down to my son's generation, where it was very shameful or unmanly,
right,
to talk about your mental health. Coming from a, maybe the best way to say, unrepresentative community or background, it was a big stigma to talk about your feelings and how you express yourself. And I think, next month coming up, Mental Health Month for men is a massive thing. It's a good opportunity for everybody to have open and honest conversations without any fear of repercussions,
Right.
you know, to just express themselves, see how they feel.
I think the stigma around mental health, I think we should break that cycle, because when you look on the reality of life, everyone go through some form of mental breakdown. But I think the community of men, they don't socialize enough with each other. And where friends is concerned is like, you don't want to go to your friend to say, you know what, I'm feeling emotional.
Yeah.
You know, you're probably in fear, especially in Jamaica. I'm not certain what it is like here in the UK.
Well, I'll give you one example now. You know, I'm from the Sikh Punjabi community, and I was brought up in a joint family. So my father and his brother, you know, we all lived in one house with my uncle's siblings, and there was 5 of us siblings, and I was being the eldest. You know, my younger 2 brothers never talked about their feelings and how they express themselves. And it's only last week where, you know, my uncle's youngest son's got engaged, and we spoke. You know, he was finding it hard to talk, you know, about how he feels about that, because he's not used to it.
Right.
And you know, it's there's no repercussions or negative aspect of expressing how men talk and feel about themselves. And there's, I think, like you're right where you said, you know, the stigma attached to it. When you go to a friend, you know, you think your friend's going to look down upon you, and you know, think what's wrong with him, or you know, man up. You know, the crazy words.
That's it.
You know, you just get thrown. You know,
right.
You know,
that's
get
what
your
they
stuff
will
together.
Use. Yeah, that's what they will use. It. Yeah, man. You can't
sort yourself out.
Yeah, you know, and it's not every men. You know, even though we are men, we don't like to hear these things.
But we're individuals, though. I mean, everybody's individuals. So, you know, back in the 80s, 90s, you know, 70s, it used to be different when my father or my uncle used to do something, or my granddad, you know, just clip around the ear when they were young. But obviously, when they get older, verbally say it, or, you know, sort it out. And, you know, when it comes to my age, you know, my growing up, and my father and uncles, you know, teaching me about life and the values, you know, just certain words, certain looks used to tell us, you know, sort yourself out. And this day and age, it's, if anything, it's the other way around. Where,
I don't think
where the
generations,
the younger generation tell us, you know, what to do. But you have to have that respect there, and you have to understand, you know, everybody's different, and we need to honor it, but just accept that there's a better way of communicating with somebody. And if somebody's to express themselves using their emotions or feelings, that we should nurture that, and, you know, take it into our grasp and help that person out, especially when it comes to men, because I've seen it all too long. I see examples every day in the media, when I'm going to work, and just generally in the Warsaw community, or anywhere in all aspects of life, where you see people struggle, and it's not right. It's we could be doing so much more for people and men in general, and it's just not a men's mental health, because the word mental health never used to exist.
But I would agree.
10, 15 years ago.
I would agree.
You know, so I don't really like or appreciate the word mental health, because I don't believe in mental health. I just believe in well-being of people, humanity, and whether it's a man or a woman or a boy or a girl, a male or female, or whatever you want to identify yourself these days. Everybody is part of the human civilization, and we should, in an ideal world, have the courage and acceptance to speak freely and express our emotions.
But what I don't get is, like, it is okay for a female to go out with her friend. You know what, Joyce, let's go out. You know, let's have a drink, and they will go out and they will talk. I think the community for female is more stronger with the community of a male.
Well, I mean, talking not being a female myself, obviously, but growing up with sisters and aunties and mothers and grandmothers of that age, they tend to talk and freely and open honestly in a shorter space of time. If they've got a problem, they'll call up their sister or a daughter will call to speak to their mom straight away. And where, for example, it was a father and son, they might not even be on the same wavelength. They might be scared of each other. If I tell my dad this, the repercussions going to be, so yeah, women do it much better, of course. I'm not ashamed to say that, because for example, if my sister or wife, if I've done something wrong, or if someone else has done something wrong, they'll be the first one to let me know. And that's a good quality and trait to have. And if anything, men could take a leaf out of that book. And just say it as it is. If you've got a problem or something concerning you, it's best to let your feelings know there and then, because the longer you leave it, the worse it will play on your mind. And there may be different outcomes, where if you nip something in the bud, so to say, you've got a good chance of getting that thought or incident at your head and moving on, carrying on with your day or with your life. So yeah, I definitely agree with that statement.
You mentioned, we had a conversation and in the last podcast, and you said that you have been a carer.
Yeah, and
right. You've been a carer for like 15 years.
Well, that's another word, carer, as well. We never used to have carers, because in our culture, the respect and aspect of your parents and grandparents bringing you up, we reciprocate that when we get older and they get older. So the kind of, like you say, the table turns, doesn't it? When your parents are getting older, your grandparents, I kind of see it as my duty and responsibility to take care of them and, ensure that what they've taught us, our upbringing, of a unit, a family unit, and taking care of each other and looking out for each other, just doing the small things, that we should always reciprocate that when it comes to looking after, like myself, my grandparents. So I think the word carer came into my personal life about 2013, when I moved from so I lived in one house for 28 years. That was an extended family. And then when obviously the extended family got bigger, we needed more space. We moved into our own separate houses. And that's when we kind of struggled, because we had obviously 10 to 12 family members looking out for each other, looking after our grandparents, and it was work like clockwork. Everybody knew their place in the house and who was to do what time. Yeah, one setting, there's someone always going to school, someone going to work, grandparents at home cooking, whatever. My grandparents living their own life, going to India, for months and coming back, and it was just fantastic.
What was it like? What was it like though? Because for me, I was in a large home as well. But it's like my mom and my cousins, because my mom, bless her soul, my mom was a woman that she liked to help.
Yeah.
And she helped friends and she helped family members.
My mom's exactly the same.
Yeah, so even though I was the only child for her, she had other children.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So she would take them in.
I mean, that is a point where Jamaican community, Punjabi community, it's something that we don't appreciate and let people know that we hold those family values, and they are British values as well,
right,
in this country, because we look after each other, and it's a value that unfortunately in today's society I don't see much examples and much emphasis on it.
I think the values is broken down.
Yeah, and it's very easy to blame other people, but we have to look ourselves in the mirror and see what part we can play in that. Because you know, I didn't want to interrupt you, but obviously your mother, you know, has gone out of way. You were her only son, but she looked at other, you know, children of your age and looked at them as their own children. Like my mother, you know, looked at my cousins and you know, as her own, and
Right.
and I look the same as my cousin brothers and cousin sisters. Their kids, I look at them as my kids because they're the same relation as my kids.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to hold on to. And it is a real shame that, you know, those values are disintegrating in society today. And I really hope, you know, to your viewers and people listening to me and you having this conversation, that, you know, we can look at ourselves first and try and rekindle these values that have gone from today's society, because it's down to us at the end of the day.
Do you think it can rekindle though?
Of course it can. There's nothing cannot be done in life. And if I've learned anything in, you know, my nearly 40 years of life, is that nothing is impossible.
I think I think it would be difficult, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. I don't think parents, because parents have a part to play in society.
Yeah.
I don't think parents are doing enough where to instill these values into their children of this day and age. Where me and you were growing up, our parents taught us principle, our parents taught us
But I think that starts at a very young age.
Yeah.
So it was instilled, you know, like you said, for me and you, at a very young age. But it wasn't just from our parents; it was from
a community.
our community, because they always say a community raises a child.
Yeah, but that's not the same, no.
Yeah.
Because, all right, I remember when I was growing up.
And where did you grow up? In
Jamaica.
In Jamaica. So
Yeah.
how long did you spend of your life?
I
in
just arrived in the UK like 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So my life.
So you spent a large chunk of your life in Jamaica.
Right. So in my younger age, growing up, the community is what raised us.
What raises us, yes.
You know what I mean? I couldn't violate an elder on the street.
Yeah.
If I violate an elder on the street and my mom here,
Yeah.
problem.
Well, it's the same for me. This Warsaw is my community.
Yeah.
I grew up attending the Gurdwara in Plek, and that made me the man I am in front of you today.
It's the same.
By going to regular, it wasn't just for religious purposes. Of course, you know, I'm a Sikh and a proud, devout Sikh, and if I could shout it from the rooftops, I would.
Of course.
You know, I'm a baptized Sikh, and I try my best to follow, you know, the teachings of our gurus. But the Gurdwara was a community base for us. There was a community centre there. We used to go every Saturdays. Parents used to drop us off, or we used to get picked up in a van and go football. You know, we started Sporting Casa in 1994 from there. And, you know, we used to go to my secondary school or Willenhall, you know, me, my friends of my age. And, you know, we're the founder members of the Sporting Casa, who are a very successful semi-professional football team now. So, you know, attending summer camps, summer schools, and, you know, learning my mother tongue, Punjabi, you know, in Punjabi school. It's every aspect of a kid. My life was covered from that Gurdwara. And Gurdwara, incidentally, to your viewers, means the Guru's house. So anybody's welcome from any religion, any race or background, and can come into the Gurdwara and pay their respects. You know, you can pray in whatever you believe in. For example, if you're a Christian, you could come in and you have a communal kitchen where you are given free food. That's the teaching of our Guru, Guru Nanak. So, you know, he gave three kind of ethoses. So it's called Nam Japana, which means repeating God's name. Van Shakna means share with others. And Kirtkani means earn an honest living. So those three are the core principles of our first Guru. And, you know, we believe in the whole of humanity. There's no restrictions on people to come in. But like I said, like you said, growing up in Jamaica, growing up in Warsaw, you know, the community raises a child. And we used to look upon as children in our similar ages, you know, as our brothers and sisters. There was no other relation. There was no boyfriend, girlfriend, or, of course, people fall in love and have boyfriend and girlfriends, but, You know, that
So
happened back
it's like
then, that
one.
happens now, you know, but
Like
we were
everybody's one.
we were brought up, you know, to respect another girl as your sister, you know, and look at her in the right positive way
Mm-hmm.
than in a negative or, you know, sexualized way or any other way. It just the thought wouldn't happen. It wouldn't even enter your head.
Right.
And, you know, I think this generation, or I don't really blame this generation because it's what's around them. It's what
This is what I'm saying. It's what they're
people.
taught.
It's what they're taught in
Yeah.
our schools, you know, in the family homes. But it's not all doom and gloom.
Because when I'm on the bus here in the UK,
Mhm.
you know, when I was growing up and you're on the bus, you had to respect your elders.
Well, of course, yes. It's
On the
courtesy.
bus here, the kids don't.
Yeah.
I remember someone on the bus call out to a child, "Can you stop? We're on the bus," because they were going on,
Yeah.
and they literally took him on.
Mm.
You know what I mean? In Jamaica, when I was growing up, kids couldn't do that.
Well, if
If they do that, they would be going home in fear because they know the parents will hear.
they
what's
would know, the word will come round,
Yeah,
and it will get
Definitely.
back to the parents.
definitely. So I just this I think I'm not certain. I'm not saying it can't change, but if the parents, the community can't communicate or grow the kids anymore, it's
But I think that is part of the problem. But we have to look at what's been going on in today's society and our country, England, Great Britain. You know, we faced a lot of change recently in terms of our political landscape.
Mhm.
You know, with the new Labour government coming in, 14 years of Conservative government, where for one reason or another it just has not worked. I think generally the whole population would agree with myself that there's been better times for us, and
Right.
hopefully looking forward, you know, coming out of Europe, not having a good Brexit
Mhm.
with COVID and just the world as it is today with wars ongoing, you know, it's just changed so much, and I don't think the change has come around as good as we expect.
Mhm.
And you know, we're very hopeful that the future is better for ourselves,
Mhm.
our generation before us, our parents and grandparents, and for our children in the future as well, because what we do today is what our parents did 10, 15 years ago. You work hard, provide, you know, give houses and jobs, and that security for us to do the same for our children. And I really hope that people, not so to say change who they are, because everybody's different.
Yeah.
And we have to accept and learn that everybody raises their children the way they seem best for themselves. There's no right or wrong answer of raising a child. It's down to the parent and the individual how you want to raise your child. You know, that's their choice, and we need to respect that, and we can't impose anything on anybody. So, you know, where you are right, where you think it's hard for change to happen, but we have to respect as well that some people want to raise their children a certain way, and let's face it, if we all did the same thing, the world would be a bit boring place, you know, where we're all individuals, and
For real.
you know, if we didn't have any differences, you know, we wouldn't have
Can't
we wouldn't have different characters and characteristics and people.
Can't have a perfect.
Yeah, I mean, both of me and you could be, you know, cool heads, but you know, it's nice to have a hot head on somebody who's a bit out there, outspoken, and you know, and that's what makes the world go around. Yeah.
So I want to speak to you about like caring. Like you cared for your grandma for what, 15 years?
Well, yeah. I mean, back in 2013 when we moved into our home where we live now, it was still mainly family members. My mother, my father, my father's brother's family. They were all coming. My aunties and helping us. But obviously, the people living in the house was myself, my wife, my kids, my mum and dad, and my grandparents. So obviously, we lived as a family, and where we could get help, we could, and we used to rotate duties as well. So, for example, my grandfather, when he could not obviously do his own personal hygiene, as grandsons, me and my two younger cousin brothers, we would take it every weekend or every couple of days and alternate as much as we could. But it just got to the point where it was coming not too much as a problem, I would say, but too much to handle.
Yeah.
Because we had our own life to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
and growing up and getting jobs and going into education, university, going away from the family home. So obviously we all lived away from Warsaw at one point in our lives, studying, all five siblings. And it was hard for my parents as well because both my parents unfortunately have long-term illnesses
Mm-hmm.
themselves, and my mother had to retire early from her profession, working in the bank, which she had works from the age of 17. And so she had to take early retirement for her own health. And my dad's had his problems. He's worked for a family company, KTC in Wednesbury, all his life. And I've worked there myself as well. As a teenager in the factory, my uncles gave me opportunities there, working with them as a managing director, executive assistant for the managing director, working as a transport clerk, etc. in the accounts department. And it wasn't just myself, people in that community and family all had that opportunity. And, we're thankful and we're grateful for that as well, because if it wasn't for those chances, uncles and, elder members in our family, we wouldn't be in a position where we've got, decent jobs and we can go out and, further our careers, because they instill the principle of the work ethic in us from a very young age and taught us, about money, about hard work, about respecting people, getting to work on time, doing a hard day's work, whatever it is, if it's from brushing a shop floor to being a director. You treat the cleaner the same as a director, with the same respects and manners. And, like coming back to the carer part, it's just when it got too much for the family as a whole that we had to seek help, where I think that's when the caring business or sector kind of transformed the way we look after our families. Because to be very open and honest, I wasn't in favour of having carers, external people looking after my grandparents, because still to this day I believe it's the family duty to honour and look after our grandparents. But obviously there comes a time where, whether it's one reason or another, for health reasons or financial reasons, or the burden, so to say, of looking after somebody where you neglect yourself.
Right.
I think when that becomes a problem, then it is right to seek help, because that is the right thing to do and the natural progression, so to say. Because until you become a carer, you don't know what a carer goes through. And I personally, speaking myself, think it's been one of my life's most honourable things to have looked after my grandmother and grandmother and grandfather for so many years, and live with them and hear their stories and just learn from them. Well, my grandmother unfortunately passed away in February this year. She obviously died in my arms at Manor Hospital at the age of unofficially 94.
What was that like for you? Because some people had that experience and it's not a good feeling. It's that their family member died in their hand.
Well, I have to say, hand on heart, that it was the most difficult thing I've ever faced in my life. And anybody who knows me as a friend or a family member knows that my grandma had a very special bond.
Right.
My grandmother wasn't just my grandmother. She was my mother. She was my best friend. She was a person I went to when I was in crisis or when I needed help. She was always a shoulder to cry on. And if anything, this year and her death has taught me that my father said it to me a couple of days before she passed away, that you got to prepare yourself for your grandmother's death. I said, I cannot prepare myself for my grandmother leaving this world. When it happens, I'll see how I cope. But it was one of the hardest things ever, and I miss my grandmother dearly.
Because it's
there's,
just
there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of her, or her presence is not felt in any aspect of my life. Whether I still feel her presence, and obviously we live together. I still feel her soul or something around me is reminding me of her. And I was very privileged as well. Before she passed away, about a year ago, 6 to 9 months ago, we booked a trip to India as a family, and she was very worried that he was going to look after her while we were gone. But obviously, we reassured her my uncle's family is down the road, and you don't need to worry about anything, and people will come look after you. My aunties are here. Your daughters will take it in turns to look after you. But unfortunately, she passed away before we went. So we did her last rites. We can take solace and remembrance from just the incredible woman she was, and 90 years of life with her. And I tell you a very surreal part now. Your viewers might find it hard to believe, but when I was holding the rucksack with my grandmother, and when I used to give my grandmother a hug, that feeling, that love, I actually felt that on her last journey. And it actually felt like I was hugging my grandmother physically, even though physically she was not there. It was her remains, and it was just a wonderful moment. It's a very spiritual moment, and there's no other way to explain it but divine intervention, or divine God showing me that she's still around. And
right.
So it was a beautiful moment, and it's been very hard for me personally to take and accept her death. But I always remind myself that all of us have got to go one day. And I just take the great memories and everything good in her life, and just try and install that in myself and my life, and for my family and my kids.
When you were doing Caregiver for your grandma and your grandpa, did that impact your mental health in any way?
I would say there was an effect on my mental health or my thought process, because I felt it a sense of duty to, obviously, when my grandmother or grandfather called out for any help or needed assistance, that being the eldest grandchild and the most mobile and fittest person in the house to be the first one there. But obviously, being a married man and with 3 kids, and a wife and my parents, and there's lots of other duties for me and responsibilities in the house. So
it's like,
there was a lot of conflict in my headspace, so to say, and in my thoughts that I used to battle with and find it hard to control. How can you prioritize if your grandma's calling you and your kids at the same time? There's no priorities there. You got to deal with one or the other.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, you hold on, I'll do this first, or give me a sec. That's how I managed it to the best of my ability. So to keep everyone happy, and I think that's where people see a lot of the funny side and laughter in me, and the half glass full rather than the half glass empty motto. So I take my life with a pinch of salt.
Right.
I don't think there's anything that I can't tackle or face, because I've been through very different situations and highs and lows in life, and touch wood, and thanking God and my family and friends for their support, to got me through those dark times, and to come out the other end, and have a chance to sit with you here and talk on your channel. I would never dreamt of this a couple of years ago, or 10-15 years ago, when things were very bleak for me, and I've managed to turn my life around personally in that respect. But I want to reach new heights, and I've got ambitions, and I just want to have a positive impact on people's lives.
You picked up running. You like running.
Yes, yeah.
Why you choose running out of, because the UK is a football sport. Why do you choose running?
Yeah, so football has been my love and passion for sport ever since I was my earliest memory. So I've always played football. I've represented my school team, local football teams in Warsaw, Dells Farm, Dells FC. I played for Joseph Lecky football team. Sporting Castle, like I mentioned earlier, we were one of the first teams that used to go on the summer tournaments around the country in the Asian population, Sikh communities. So from Warsaw to Leicester, Wolverhampton, West Brom, Birmingham, etc. And so football's always been my passion, number one. So I used to run back in secondary school, the 100 meters, 200 meters, and cross country.
I used to run as well when I was going to school. I used to do like 50, like what's it called?
1500?
1500.
Yeah, I did 1500 meters as well. But yeah, I mean, when it came to a couple of years ago with lockdown and COVID-19, we were very restricted in this country with what we could and couldn't do. And literally the only safest thing to do was walk. So we did do a lot of exploring in Warsaw and, going with my friends and wife and my dad and my cousin brothers. We explored Warsaw and parts we never knew existed. So for example, where we met first time, Warsaw Arboretum.
Right.
We never knew what the extension was. We knew it was an old golf course, but we never knew the canal route. The fields on the other side, they're called the fields, golf courses. So we explored a lot, and that's where my passion kind of got into running. And my uncle, Sukhvinder, he used to run on a regular basis anyway, before COVID. And I used to do it sometimes, but very infrequently. It wasn't like a routine. And when it got to COVID, we did regularly. He was pushing me a lot to go with him, and it kind of fell two in two hands really. And yeah, I got into the passion of running, and that's where we came up with the idea of putting ourselves forward for doing charity runs for cancer research.
Right.
And I also started my marathon running at the AJ Bell 10-kilometer race in Birmingham City Centre 2 years ago. And from there, I run my first charity was for Aston Villa Foundation. I ran in the memory of my auntie Jagdish, eldest son, Rajvinder. He passed away. So I ran in his memory a year after he passed, unfortunately, mid-40s. So he left behind my niece and nephew.
Was
my
it
sister-in-law.
the same uncle we spoke about in the last interview?
No, this was, so basically, my dad had four sisters and a brother. So my eldest auntie passed away in 2012 with cancer.
Right.
Yeah, so the other auntie in Leicester, her son, he passed away from a brain hemorrhage. So I ran in his memory for Aston Villa Foundation. And then this year, obviously, I ran again for my grandmother and my dad's mother who passed away, and my mom's dad who passed away at the end of last year. So my last two remaining grandparents, I ran in their memory a half marathon. And I did that for Birmingham Children's Hospital, where my middle son got died. He was there for about 8 days after he was born. He wasn't too well, but I wanted to do something related to the hospital,
So
because it's a fantastic hospital.
You do a lot of running for charity.
Yes, of course. I feel as if some of my time I want to give back to the communities and places that have helped me in my life and my family. So Birmingham Children's Hospital, like I said, is very close to me. Cancer research as well. And then that's where my uncle and myself, we came together as a team. We raised just over £2,000. My uncle, I think he was second sole fundraiser in the whole of Warsaw, Sukhvinder Singh, and he came second. And as a team, we came third place as the group fundraisers. So yeah, we decided to run the 5-kilometer race in Warsaw Arboretum. In our own backyard, as you say.
That's where we met.
Yeah, that's where we met. We had our first meeting, and yeah, when you came over, I wasn't shy at all. And if anything, my uncle, he's a seasoned pro in terms of having interviews, and he's been very active socialist. And
I would love to give him an interview, because from that time, I haven't laid eyes on him, because I think he done well in the race.
Yeah, he broke his personal best, and I think he's He's younger than my dad. He's my dad's younger brother, but I was shocked. He ran a personal best, and I run a personal best as well
Yeah.
because, that's the park where we run every week,
Right.
and it is our backyard and it's home for us.
I guess that's why you guys
We had a bit more
Why don't we-
motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a bit more motivation. We knew every inch of the park,
Yeah.
and we knew we had our family obviously there as well because my cousin sister Sunny, her husband, sadly passed away on New Year's Day at the age of 40 from bowel cancer, and we wanted to run in his memory as well because he left behind two young kids, the same age of my kids. So obviously, his family was there, and it was very emotional for them. So we wanted to put on a good show of support and just to show that we're still thinking of her. And we wanted to raise money and awareness. And afterwards, we done the race. We had family supporting us. My wife was there, Balji, Gurdard, and Assis, and other family members. And we went back to my uncle's house. We had a barbecue and food and stuff, and it was a nice day.
Then.
Yeah, we obviously after running a personal best, you do work at appetite.
It's celebration.
So yeah, sorry, I should have invited you.
Yeah.
But it was a fantastic day, and it was great for the Warsaw community. Everybody from all aspects of life was there, and it was just a fantastic day that we'll talk about for generations. My kids will look back on and look at the photos, and one day I'll give them inspiration to do the same.
So apart from doing running for charity, and how does running benefit you as an individual?
I think personally it gives me a sense of alone time, so to say, or time to think, just to really give me a piece of my life for myself,
Right.
where I can just refresh or regenerate, or just give myself time to breathe, and it gives me a chance to go over my thoughts and obviously get the fitness side aspect of it, but it's just being out there, it's being free. I think there was a song, "Free Like a Bird," I can't remember who sang it, but you are literally free. You can be who you want. You can run anywhere. There's no restrictions on you. There's no time. Everything kind of pauses around you, so to say. You're in a moment where you can escape anything.
It's a therapy for you.
In one aspect, yeah, I would say it's kind of like a very therapeutic running. And apart from the health benefits, I think it benefits your mind as well.
Do you see yourself stopping anytime soon?
Well, to be honest and quite frank with you, I haven't ran in a while. I do keep fit. I play football at least once or twice a week.
Yeah.
So I do go to my gym and do some classes when I can and swim. But I really do enjoy running. I wanted to have a little break from running now. So next year and the rest of this year, I'm trying to get up to scratch with my cycling.
Oh.
So next year the idea is, and future projects, is to do a cycle charity run that my uncle, ironically Sukhvinder, he used to take us to bike rides when we were younger. So starting back in Birmingham off Soho Road's SCYS, which stands for Sikh Community Youth Service. My uncle Sukhvinder worked there, and they used to do bike rides from Birmingham to London. They were different Sikh charities like BOSS, which stands for British Organisation of Sikh Students, that are based around the Sikh universities, societies. So they've carried on from there, and there's been different like Sikh Helpline and Sikh Charity Association, Cycle Association. So yeah, the idea is a couple of football friends from Friday have wrote me in, and I'm looking to train up for that. And that's what I'm looking forward to do. And then obviously with age, I don't look at age as a barrier or excuse.
Well, I think
want
if
to
you
keep
keep going
as much as I can,
I think it will be helpful, because once the muscle is working, they say.
And I do feel it as well.
Right.
When I'm not running, that's when I do get aches and pains and my back starts to play up. Unfortunately, I was involved in a car accident in 2017,
Mm.
and that gave me whiplash
Wow.
and back problems. Started from there. My back's never been the same. It's like they say, when something goes wrong in a body part or a car, it's the same thing. It's never quite the same. But touch wood, I'm still active and I have an active life, and I want to remain as active and so to say, doing these charity events every year or as often as I can for as long as possible.
As we come to a close, do you have anything that we probably could have touched on that we may never have touched on?
I think we covered a lot in our discussions, and raising awareness of mental health in men, and being a carer, whether you're a young carer, or old carer, or middle-aged, or and talking about sport or some kind of activity or interest that can help and benefit you. So I think we touched upon everything. I mean, I think my closing remarks to your viewers and yourself is that just do something that you enjoy, something gives you happiness, whether it is literally from reading a book to being the next astronaut for NASA going to visit the moon. There's so much we can do in life. It's just really about putting your mind to it, and I think let's just build a better world for everyone.
I ask you that, because we always try to give encouragement to the listeners, because a lot of people out there facing so much, and they just need that one bit of encouragement to keep them going. You know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons why I created this podcast as well. To create a community, to build a community that people feel safe to, to tune into this podcast, to learn something, to be encouraged at the same time. You know what I mean? And but originally we always have a closing tradition where we ask the guests to leave an encouraging word for the next guest coming. And my tablet was dead, so just getting it up. But the last guest I had, we didn't go through this because we were rushing and a lot. But this guest that we had, I think it was, let me see, the last guest I had was Lee Blythe. And her message to obviously you is sharing knowledge and experience. We are all connected. Choose love and gratitude. That's what she left for you, not knowing that you will be coming in. And I think it fits very well, because that's what you've been doing through your charity run, and your heart posture is just genuine, and you keep sharing love, and I just encourage you, just keep doing it, man.
No, thank you very much. I mean, it's the beautiful words from your previous guests, and just touching upon that love and gratitude. The only thing I could give to your viewers, it's not my words, it's my Guru's teaching. So the first Guru, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the founder of Sikhism, his Gurbani calls Nanak Naam Chaddi Kala, Tere Pane Sabat La Pala. So it means keeping everyone in high spirits, and a general prayer for all of humanity.
Right.
So we pray for everyone's peace and everyone's love. And I think my closing remarks and for the next guest would be that. Say a prayer for all of humanity.
Well, we have to ask you a different question.
Okay.
Because I don't want the guests to watch this and see what you had said.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's supposed to be a surprise, basically.
Oh, no.
So
I'll support your surprise.
You have to come up with something else, because you got to put something in this tablet.
All right, okay.
So thank you again for joining us on this podcast, and it's
Okay.
always a pleasure speaking with you.
No,
And we communicate ever so often, and
yeah, we checking each other,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
and
know
it's,
what I mean?
it's very nice to
Yeah,
have someone, who I can message and
definitely.
keep an eye out, see how your life's going, and how checking up on me. So I do really appreciate that as well.
Definitely.
If I haven't mentioned it, it's just good.
Definitely.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, man.
So
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
thank you again for your time and space in here.
Thank you guys for joining the Ivy Cancer podcast once again. We had a wonderful conversation, and until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and eat healthy.